Everything happens for a reason. Today, we will contemplate a question that perhaps we have asked ourselves, especially during the most difficult and painful times of our lives. Why is this happening to me? This question is like a sigh, a complaint, even a denial of life's meaning. But are there truly things that happen without any reason? In the spirit of Buddhist teachings, we will delve deeply into everything happens for a reason. Have you ever experienced the feeling of being abandoned by the whole world? Are you adrift in a storm, with nothing to hold on to, without a glimmer of hope? Perhaps it was when losing a loved one, when your career collapsed, or when betrayed in love. In those dark moments, the question, why, relentlessly tormented your mind, plunging you into despair. But have you ever wondered if it is precisely in that darkness that a new seed is sprouting? Part 1. Impermanence. The Buddha taught that impermanence is one of life's most important characteristics, anicca. Everything changes, nothing lasts forever. From small things like a leaf falling from a branch to great upheavals like the birth, aging, sickness, and death of humans, all are within the ceaseless flow of time. We often suffer when faced with change because we tend to cling, upadana, to inherently impermanent things. We want to hold on to youth, health, relationships, and material possessions, but no one can resist the law of impermanence. This clinging is the root of suffering, dukkha. To understand impermanence more clearly, we must deeply contemplate the nature of all things and phenomena. Look at a flower. When it first blooms, how radiant and beautiful it is. But a few days later, it begins to wither, fade, and finally return to dust. That is impermanence. Look at our bodies. When we are young, we are full of energy and vitality. But over time, the body gradually ages, weakens, and eventually disintegrates. That too is impermanence. Impermanence is not just external change, but also internal change within our minds. Emotions, thoughts, and ideas constantly change, arise, and cease without end. We can be happy today, sad tomorrow, loving at one moment, hating at another. Our minds are like a river, constantly flowing, never stopping. Why do we suffer from impermanence? We tend to want everything to be permanent and unchanging. We want to hold on to what we love and avoid what we hate. But life does not operate that way. Everything changes, and we must learn to accept it. Today we are healthy, but tomorrow we might be sick. Today we are wealthy, but tomorrow we might face financial difficulties. We love each other today, but conflicts and separation might occur tomorrow. That is impermanence. To face impermanence peacefully, we need to develop wisdom, panna. Wisdom is the ability to see clearly the true nature of all things, impermanent, subject to suffering, and without a permanent self. When we have wisdom, we no longer cling to illusions and no longer suffer because of life's inevitable changes. To understand the workings of impermanence more clearly, we need to discuss another concept, cause and effect. Part 2. Cause and effect, karma. The law of cause and effect, karma, is one of the pillars of Buddhist philosophy. It states that every action has a consequence, just like sowing a seed will yield a corresponding type of plant. Karma, meaning action, is not a punishment or reward from the outside, but a natural law governing the universe's operation. Every thought, word, and deed creates imprints in our consciousness, which will influence our future experiences. We may not immediately see the connection between action and result, but it always exists, like a domino effect or ripples spreading when we throw a stone into a lake. To understand the law of cause and effect more clearly, we must distinguish between cause and effect. Cause is the action, the origin. The effect is the result, the consequence of that action. A good cause will lead to a good effect. Conversely, a bad cause will lead to a harmful effect. But it is important to remember that cause and effect are not a punishment or reward from a supreme being. They are natural laws, like gravity or energy conservation. They operate objectively, impartially, and without discrimination. Karma is not fate. Past actions do not entirely bind us. We can change our present and future through wholesome actions, kusala, in the present. We have the right to choose the actions we will take, and therefore we have the right to decide our future. If we help others today, we may receive help when we encounter difficulties tomorrow. If we speak kind words today, we may receive kind words tomorrow. Conversely, if we harm others today, we may encounter misfortune tomorrow. To transform bad karma into good karma, we must practice the Eightfold Path, the eight-limbed path leading to liberation. The Eightfold Path includes proper understanding, samadhithi, understanding the Four Noble Truths; right thought, samasankappa, thinking rightly without greed, hatred or delusion; right speech, samavaka, speaking truthfully, harmoniously and beneficially; right action, samakamanta, acting virtuously, avoiding harmful deeds; right livelihood, sama ajiva, earning a living ethically without harming others; right effort, samavayama, diligently cultivating good and abandoning evil; right mindfulness, samasati, paying attention to the present moment without judgment or interpretation; right concentration, samasamadhi, focusing the mind, attaining tranquility. By practicing the Eightfold Path, we can purify our minds, eliminate defilements, and create wholesome causes for the future. Part 3. Letting Go and Acceptance. When faced with difficulties and losses, we often tend to resist reality, trying to cling to what has passed or blaming fate. But the Buddha taught that letting go, nekkhamma, and acceptance are the keys to liberation from suffering. Letting go does not mean surrendering or abandoning everything. It means accepting that everything is impermanent and that we cannot control everything. Acceptance is not resignation, but recognizing things objectively, without judgment or blame. Why is letting go important? When we cling to something, we suffer when it changes or is lost. Imagine you have a precious vase you cherish, take care of, and fear it will break. But one day, the vase falls and shatters. How much will you suffer? But if you had contemplated that the vase is impermanent and could break at any time, then when it breaks, you will not suffer so much. Acceptance is equally essential. When we encounter something undesirable, we often blame, complain, and ask, "Why me?" But blaming does not help. It only increases suffering. Instead of blaming, accept that it has happened and find a way to deal with it positively. Remember the story of the farmer and his horse. When the horse ran away, the neighbors offered condolences, and he said, "Who knows what is misfortune, what is good fortune?" A few days later, the horse returned, leading a herd of wild horses, and the neighbors came to congratulate him, but he just said, "Who knows what is misfortune, what is good fortune?" Then his son fell from a horse and broke his leg, and he calmly said, "Who knows what is misfortune, what is good fortune?" Finally, when soldiers came to conscript young men, his son was spared because of his injury, and everyone saw the farmer's wisdom. This story shows us that every event in life has two sides. What matters is how we perceive it. To let go and accept upekkha, we need to practice equanimity. Equanimity is a state of mental calmness, not being swayed by the vicissitudes of life. When we have equanimity, we are no longer attached to what we like or repelled by what we dislike. We see everything objectively, impartially, and without judgment. Right livelihood, sama jiva, earning a living ethically without harming others. Right effort, sama vayama, diligently cultivating good and abandoning evil. Right mindfulness, samasati, paying attention to the present moment without judgment or interpretation. Right concentration, sama samadhi, focusing the mind, attaining tranquility. By practicing the Eightfold Path, we can purify our minds, eliminate defilements, and create wholesome causes for the future. Part 4. The Hidden Meaning of Adversity. Perhaps you will ask, why do bad things happen to good people? Why do some people suffer more than others? This is a difficult question, but from the Buddhist perspective, adversity is not a punishment, but an opportunity to learn and grow. The Buddha taught that life is suffering, dukkha. Suffering is not just physical pain, but also mental dissatisfaction, anxieties, fears, sorrows, etc. Suffering is an inherent part of life. No one can avoid it. But why is there suffering? The Buddha explained that suffering arises from craving, tanha, the thirst, desire, and clinging to inherently impermanent things. When we desire something, we suffer when we do not get it or lose it. So, what is the meaning of adversity? Adversity reveals the nature of suffering more clearly. It helps us realize that life is not always rosy, that things are beyond our control, and that clinging only leads to suffering. Adversity is also an opportunity for us to cultivate our character. Just as metal is tempered through fire, humans are tested and refined through life's difficulties. Adversity helps us develop patience, khanti, compassion, karuna, understanding, and resilience. It helps us see the nature of life more clearly, the value of what we have, and the path we need to take. Many successful and great people in the world have experienced the most difficult periods of their lives. Those difficulties help them become stronger and more resilient and achieve extraordinary accomplishments. For example, Helen Keller, who was blind and deaf from a young age, became a famous writer and social activist. Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison, became the president of South Africa and fought for freedom and equality. They turned adversity into strength. To find meaning in adversity, we need to contemplate the Four Noble Truths, the Four Supreme Truths that the Buddha realized. The truth of suffering, dukkha sakha, the truth of suffering. The truth of the origin of suffering, samudaya sakha, the truth of the cause of suffering. The truth of the cessation of suffering, nirodha sakha, the truth of the end of suffering. The truth of the path to the cessation of suffering, magga sakha, the truth of the path to the end of suffering. When we contemplate the Four Noble Truths, we will understand more clearly the nature of suffering, its cause, and the path to escape it. From there, we can transform adversity into motivation for practice and achieve liberation. Right livelihood, sama ajiva, earning a living ethically without harming others. Right effort, sama vayama, diligently cultivating good and abandoning evil. Right mindfulness, samasati, paying attention to the present moment without judgment or interpretation. Right concentration, sama samadhi, focusing the mind, attaining tranquility. By practicing the Eightfold Path, we can purify our minds, eliminate defilements, and create wholesome causes for the future. Part 5. Practicing mindfulness. To face life's difficulties calmly and wisely, we need to practice mindfulness, sati. Mindfulness is paying full attention to the present moment without judgment or interpretation. When we are mindful, we can recognize and deal with our emotions and thoughts without being controlled. Why is mindfulness important? Because when we are not mindful, we are often swept away by negative thoughts and emotions. We can be immersed in the past, worried about the future, or dominated by desires and anger in the present. This causes us to suffer and prevents us from living fully in each moment. Mindfulness helps us escape the cycle of negative thoughts and emotions. It helps us return to the present, to what is happening here and now. When mindful, we are no longer bound by the past, no longer haunted by the future, and no longer controlled by desires and anger. Focus on your breath. Feel the rise and fall of your abdomen, the coolness of the air entering and leaving your nostrils. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back to your breath. Just that is enough for us to dwell in the present, not being swept away by worries about the past or fears about the future. This basic mindfulness meditation exercise can be practiced anywhere and anytime. You can sit on a chair, on the floor, or walk. The important thing is to keep your back straight, relax your shoulders, and focus on your breath. When you first start, you may find your mind very distracted. Thoughts and emotions constantly arise, making it difficult to focus on your breath. Don't worry, that's normal. Gently bring your mind back to your breath, again and again. Gradually, as you practice more regularly, your mind will become calmer and you can maintain your attention for longer. You will notice that you are no longer as easily controlled by thoughts and emotions. We can also practice mindfulness in daily activities such as eating, walking, and doing housework. When eating, pay attention to the taste of the food and the sensation of chewing and swallowing. When walking, feel the contact of your feet with the ground and the movement of your body. When doing housework, focus on each movement and detail. Doing so can turn ordinary activities into meditation exercises, helping us live more fully in each moment. When we are angry, we can try to stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and observe our emotions. We shouldn't try to suppress or push them away. We should just recognize and accept them. That is mindfulness. To develop mindfulness, we need to practice regularly and persistently. Set aside a specific time each day for meditation, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes. Throughout the day, try to maintain awareness of all activities. Mindfulness is not a destination but a process. We cannot become fully mindful immediately, but we must practice step by step. But we get closer to peace and freedom every time we focus on the present. Part 6. Transforming the mind. Suffering is an inevitable part of life, but what matters is not that we try to avoid it, but learn how to transform it. The Buddha taught that enlightenment, bodhi, is not a static state, but a continuous process of transformation in which we transform suffering and afflictions into wisdom, panna, and loving kindness, metta. To transform the mind, we need to contemplate its nature deeply. The mind is like a garden with fragrant flowers and weeds. We cannot eliminate the weeds, but we can learn how to care for the flowers so that they become more beautiful. Similarly, we cannot eliminate negative thoughts and emotions, but we can learn to recognize them, accept them, and not let them control us. Contemplation of suffering, dukkha. Recognize that suffering is a part of life. Don't try to avoid or deny it. Instead, learn about the nature of suffering, its causes, and how it operates. Contemplation of impermanence, anicca. Remember that everything changes. Don't cling to what you have. Don't grieve too much when you lose something. Learn to accept the truth that everything is impermanent. Contemplation of no self, anatta. Understand that there is no fixed, unchanging self. The self is a collection of ever-changing material and mental elements. When we understand this, we will no longer cling to the self, and therefore no longer suffer because of what happens to it. Practice of loving kindness, metta. Open your heart to love all beings, even those we dislike. Loving kindness helps us break down the barriers that separate us from others and helps us live more harmoniously with the world around us. In every experience, there is a lesson, a meaning waiting for us to discover. Sometimes, we must go through significant losses to learn a valuable lesson. Sometimes, we have to face extreme difficulties to discover our hidden strength. And sometimes, we have to walk through the darkest paths to find the light of truth. Remember that you are not alone on this path. We are all walking our paths with our lessons and challenges. What matters is how we walk. We can blame fate, sink into suffering, see everything with gratitude, learn from our mistakes, and move forward with faith and hope. As the Buddha taught, everything happens for a reason. Not a reason for punishment or reward, but a reason for the universe's operation, of the law of cause and effect, and of the growth and evolution of the soul. Open your heart to receive the lessons that life brings, and believe that there is always the light of peace waiting for us at the end of the road. When we are angry, we can try to stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and observe our emotions. We shouldn't try to suppress or push them away. We should just recognize and accept them. That is mindfulness. To develop mindfulness, we need to practice regularly and persistently. Set aside a specific time each day for meditation, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes. Throughout the day, try to maintain awareness of all activities. Mindfulness is not a destination but a process. We cannot become fully mindful immediately, but we must practice step by step. But we get closer to peace and freedom every time we focus on the present.